everyone, it's a pleasure to welcome you all to yet another insightful session of Glass Academy webinars. Today's topic is glass as the game changer in the interior and architecture design promises to be an exciting exploration of how glass is redefining spaces and revolutionizing design thinking. For years, glass has been primarily seen as transparent barrier, a material used to separate and enclose spaces. But in reality, it is so much more. Glass is a dynamic design element that interacts with light, enhances spatial quality, and plays a crucial role in sustainable architecture. From fostering openness in interiors to improving energy efficiency in buildings, glass is no longer just a functional component, it's a powerful tool that allows architects and designers to push boundaries like never before. Today, we are joined by two exceptionally talented young designers who seamlessly blend functionality and aesthetics in their work. Through their insights and experiences, we will uncover how glass is shaping the future of design and transforming the built environment. Allow me to introduce our esteemed speakers for the day, architect Akshay Gantasala and architect Monica Tripurumallu, the founders of A+M Design Studio, Vijayawada. As a husband and wife duo, they have built a practice that reflects their shared passion for meaningful and thoughtful design. Architect Akshay and Monica both graduated in architecture from Manipal University and MSRIT Bangalore, respectively, in 2018. Their quest for design excellence took them to Florence Design Academy, Italy, where they pursued their master's in interior design in 2002. With 7 years of industry experience and 2 years of running their own design practice, they have established themselves as innovators in the field. Their journey began in Bangalore, where they worked on prestigious projects from high-rise buildings to luxury villas and education institutions. Since founding A+M Design Studio in Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh, they have delivered an impressive portfolio of residential and some commercial interiors as well. Each project reflecting their belief that spaces should mirror the unique personality of their inhabitants. Their work has not gone unnoticed. Over the past 2 years, 4 of their projects have been featured on the digital platforms of esteemed publications such as Good Homes Magazine and Architecture Digest. Notably, they are the first and only firm from Vijayawada to have their work showcased in Architectural Digest, a significant milestone that speaks volumes about their design sensibilities and impact. A key philosophy at A+M Design Studio is collaboration. They actively integrate elements crafted from artists across India, bringing unique and fresh perspectives to their city and elevating local craftsmanship to new heights by being the first firm to bring many talented artists to Vijayawada. We're truly delighted to have them here today, and we can't wait to hear their thoughts on how glass is shaping the future of interior and architectural design. So without further ado, let's get started. Akshay and Monica, a warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting us here. And it'll be a pleasure to...
Thank you,
Akshay.
Akshay.
Thank you so much for...
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. I see the session as a very inspirational session for the youngsters, especially who are about to graduate or in the colleges, to even see that this is doable and reachable because you're the closest case study we can present to them today. So before diving into deep into today's topic, let's just have a small ice-breaking question where I would like to understand. Please tell us about A+M Design Studio and what is your design philosophy and how do you define your approach to materials, especially glass?
Yeah. This is Monica and Akshay. Both of us have started our studio. It's been 2 years since we have started our practice, and we have worked on around 10 to 15 projects till now. And like you have said, we've been published on digital platforms like AD and Good Homes Magazine as well. So we're happy with whatever we've done till now, and we as a studio, we usually believe in a very minimalistic approach towards design. We try to keep the design very sober and very maintenance friendly for the clients, for the users, and users comfort is always the priority for us. Also, we tend to flood the interiors with lots and lots of natural light as well. And I think the only way to achieve that is with the help of glass. So that way we tend to use glass a lot in interiors. We use like really large openings wherever possible so that the interiors are very well ventilated. And so basically the comfort of the user is not being compromised in any way. So that's more or less the main basic design principle that we follow. And yeah, that's about it.
Akshay, would you like to add some, or I'm going to direct the next question to you?
I think we can go to the next question, but yeah,
Yeah,
like as both of us being a very young practice, we've been very keen on bringing new things, and also as a city, like in the city with the lack of many resources as well, we've been trying to reach out to many other designers to enrich like art and culture in this city as well, because the city has not seen a lot of art. uh,
correct.
and it's majorly just a business oriented city, but only few people are oriented towards art, architecture, and culture. So when as
Absolutely.
designers, it's very important for us to bring in a lot of culture to the city with the help of art design, and we've been trying for years now, and slowly I think we are getting there.
Absolutely. I'm sure you are on the right road to success. And moving on to the second question, Akshay, in interior design, we've already
Yeah.
discussed a little bit about glass and how it has enhanced our industry back and forth. But I would like to know from you, how do you see glass transforming spatial quality now that you've designed a lot of interior spaces with respect to ambience and user experiences? Please give us your thoughts on that.
I see, like glass is a very sensitive material that we use in our projects, and it has a lot of impact with respect to spatial quality, ambience, and also the user experience. And coming to the spatial quality, glass, brings in a lot of openness and connectivity visually. So how you play with glass inside your interiors is very important. So how do we really need to dot down if we need the space to be connected visually, or do you really want it to be very opaque or translucent where it's just flowing into each other's space? So creating that openness is very important. So glass is a very flexible material that we use with, and wherever we want to bring in, a privacy, we try to use textured glasses. There's so many forms of glass that we can use, and we try to use glass in various formats, like textured glass, sandwich glass, and many other formats. And coming to the ambience, how light passes through glass is very important. So, and also how it reflects light. So the glare of the space is very important. Whenever we are using a glass in a space, we understand how it's reacting to the artificial environment that we have created inside the space, because there are
Absolutely.
so many light fixtures that happen inside the space, and when light falls on glass, it has a certain way that it reacts. When it's naturally lit, it is a different thing to altogether.
Ambience, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, but whenever there's an artificial light that's falling on the glass, the glare is very important. It should not really affect your eyes, or it should not reflect towards a person. It should not reflect to a television, or it should not reflect towards a space you are actually working. So these things are very important when we play with ambience, and also how the light passes from naturally, like when you use it for your exteriors. So in the morning, there's it's a very pleasant light, but whereas when
Right.
it's coming to afternoon, there's a lot of glare that's going to come in. So how do you play with glare also when you're doing your project? So glass is like how I said, the glass is a very sensitive material, so it can be used like very thoughtfully, and can be used very aesthetically as well. So we find glare a major factor to play with, and also reflection a major factor to play with. And coming to user experiences, we find glass a very nice material to avoid noise from outsides. We try to
Right.
use double glazed and double sandwich glass with vacuum in center, where it cut down the total noise from outside, which is not really plausible with a lot of other materials. So in user experiences, like when we use it as room dividers, or also where we need privacy with respect to sound, we use double sandwich glasses as a part of our projects, which has been helping us a lot, because it's an urban space, right? There'll be a lot of traffic noise, and there'll be a lot of other environmental noise that we'd like to cut down in your residential spaces. And yeah, glass has been helping us. And also coming to the interaction with environment, in the same time, there'll be a lot of views from your site. So how do you frame them well? How do you That also a part of the user experience
Yes,
whenever we
absolutely.
sit down in our living room and we watch outside. So glass, how do you position your windows? How do you position your ventilators, everything plays an important role with
Absolutely,
respect to user
absolutely. I
experience.
think that's where our design sensibilities also come into play, where
Yeah,
we understand the strategic position of glass. Now you told about the refraction factor, you told about the
yeah,
glare, you told about framing the views. There's so many thought processes that goes into stitching one interior space that, gives out the
yeah.
experience the client demands or, rightfully asked for in the design. So absolutely great take on that, Akshay. And so moving on, Monica, I would just like to know that there's this trend towards open floor plans, right, with seamless partitions especially. How do you use glass to balance openness with privacy, which has been a big factor, especially in residences with so many, age groups and genders, and a lot of criteria comes into place. How do you play that?
Yeah, actually, these days space has already become a luxury, and no one wants to
Right,
compromise on space. And that too with permanent dividers like walls that block the light completely, and they also make the space look very cramped. Firstly, the layouts that we're getting these days are already a lot of natural ventilation is not possible in all the areas in the house, right? So having a blocking the light with dividers like wall is not really a practical solution in these cases. So when natural light is not possible everywhere, we try to achieve indirect lighting through other spaces. So that's when glass plays a very important role in achieving this. So we need to find ways to make the space look visually larger than that it already is. So and when we have these glass partitions, so we sort of have a screen that is dividing both the rooms. At the same time, we have a lot of natural light coming in, and the space looks really spacious. And as far as the privacy is concerned in these kind of areas, we also have options like retractable doors, or the
correct,
we can use different types of glasses like sandwich glass, or we in even we can also make it look very aesthetic by using different pattern glasses as well. We have not just
correct,
plain glass, we can go with frosted glass, fluted glass, tinted glass. And there are so many sandwich glasses where you can use materials like fabric, mesh, and cane and whatnot. You can just play with the interiors, and the aesthetics as you wish, at the same time achieving the purpose of creating a partition without disturbing the light or the spaciousness of the room. So
absolutely.
and yeah, we can
Like to go,
also go
yeah,
with retractable doors where you can just open when you want that partition, where you want that for formal living areas. At the same time, when you want to like just open up the space, you can just close it off and use it as one single space. And I think that way glass has been very versatile for the users.
yeah, we can count on its design flexibility, I think, the ways we can use it indoors, like you rightly mentioned. So, building on the previous question, Monica, you mentioned about different types of glasses like frosted, and also my
Yeah.
next question leads you to the textures where, frosted finishes, back painted, or etched glass. So, we would like to know our designer's favorite way of, adding depth to the interiors with glass. What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's no one single favorite, way of using the glass. We also sometimes we try to use combination of glasses, like we use a few opaque and few transparent glasses in a single partition, or we can also use patterned frames with glass in between, and with minimum effort, just when the natural light falls onto the partition, it creates these beautiful shadows also, and that also elevates the space very beautifully. You really don't have to do anything else. You can just use a nice pattern and that falls over, and it looks very beautiful. The same way we have these canes. So we there were times when we have used a combination of cane and then a mesh and fabric, also different colors of fabric, different patterns of cane weaving. So this way you get to there are endless possibilities in how you use it. And I think it has created a lot of impact on rest of the interiors as well.
Absolutely. Even that composite factor of glass where you can mix it with other materials, it's not rigid, it's very
Yeah.
flexible in that matter, like you rightly mentioned, like unlike other materials. That's
Yeah.
one good point to take away on how you can innovatively keep experimenting. Apart from the few examples that you've given to our audience today, I think you can still keep exploring the possibilities of how compatible it's with the other materials in the industry. And we keep
Yeah.
getting a lot of materials every day in the market, and we still keep ourselves updated on how well we can utilize it in the interiors and what are the new things that are coming up to impress our clients, because everyone loves that unique factor. So
Yeah.
talking about clients, Akshay, so I'm just going to ask you a very quick question on what's your take on integrating glass into residential spaces? And are there any specific challenges, for example, when you're working with homeowners versus commercial clients? There's a lot of mindset difference here, right?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, like glass being very sensitive, it's also a material that can be used like really well, and also it's a designer's responsibility. I feel that we are responsible to educate the types of glasses that are available. See, the major concerns clients have is basically how do you maintain it, and
Correct.
also how they feel that glass is very fragile, but there's so many glass options that are available in the current market which clients are not aware of. It's basically our responsibility to educate like what are the types of glasses that are available and how it's adding value to their projects. Only when you see when you add the points which is adding value to their spaces, then I think they'll be more convinced towards it. But whereas commercial, I think they would prefer glass in most of the spaces. That's because they move into a very huge spaces, and also where we need to educate commercial spaces is how do you use sustainable glasses, like how do you reduce their electricity consumption, or how do
Correct.
you reduce their air conditioning capacities. So we try to put in those points where there's so many options in glass where it can actually help them. So just giving some time to educate clients is more than enough to break these barriers, is what I feel.
Absolutely. Very well said. I also feel that these days the awareness for sustainability and the kind of materials we use, upcycle or reuse, has been increasing in the industry, not only our industry, but I think any other industry that's been
Yes,
heading towards even fashion or any industry for that sake. And now that
yes.
we've been talking a lot about glass and interiors and design and ideologies and compatibility, Akshay, I would like to ask
Mhm.
another question to you where we talk about how well the concept, like the interior design concept, I'm sure you had different concepts for different clients. How
Yeah.
translating an interior concept from render to reality is very challenging, and what are some technical mistakes that young designers make in the initial ages, for example, details of the design, and how can these mistakes be avoided to have that flawless execution on site in general?
Yeah, see, I always find it's always a learning curve for young designers of how to use their glass very technically. That's because, and also, like, we have done a few mistakes ourselves. So, I'd like to mention one thing which we have learned that which is very important is your size of the glass. So, how do you transport your glass to your space? Like, when you're working on an interior space, does it really fit into the lift or does it fit into the staircase that's going to that space, or can it be actually lifted from outside? So keeping the technical aspect, can you actually bring that size to your space is very important. So when we are designing the spaces itself, we keep in our mind what's a what's a perfect size that's going to be transported into the space, or how can we do that is well thought in before to bring in a certain size. Like when we are using glazing or whenever we're using mirrors which are very long, sometimes it's not technically feasible to bring into that space. So we have to work on modules where you can actually, bring in perfectly inside. And also, like the thickness of the glasses is also very important. Like when you're doing a smaller size glass, which thickness do you use? When you're using a bigger size glass, how do you manage the thickness? And also the adhesives which are being used to fix the glass is something which has to be changed slowly, because I prefer glass to be reused most of the times. And whenever the adhesive is being used, I feel it's very, you can't really reuse them. But whenever
Reuse.
you use a fastener or whenever you're using a beadings which are openable and where you can change the glass easily, then it's more functionable and it's more easy to maintain. But whenever, and also problem with this adhesives is that's another technical mistakes we mostly find. Due to the heat in the environment, the adhesive starts to wear off, and that's when
Right.
the leaks come from the external spaces. Internal spaces is okay, but whenever you're using them externally, it's very important how you're fixing your glass. It's mostly should be a fastener or a technical joint more than an adhesive, because adhesive can wear off with time, and that needs a regular maintenance. So I feel how you're using your glass, where you're using your glass is very important. So according to that, you have to technically put the right thickness, the right size. Everything should go in place.
It also, I mean, now that you're saying all of that, it made me think that it's also backward tracking, right? Like the kind of
Yes.
opening you design, the feasibility of the large staircase, the glass seamless staircase and railings that are getting popular should be also
Yeah.
feasible design to that particular site and context with respect to the
Yeah.
transport issue that you were rightly
Transport.
mentioning. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we, being young designers, often get carried away with clients,
Yeah.
wishes saying that this is the exuberance we want to bring to a project, but how
Yes.
is it feasible at that context? If it's a
Yeah.
50th floor, the high-rise buildings go endlessly to the
Yeah.
sky. So how are you managing that fitting if you're doing the luxury of interiors that's
Yeah.
happening? So that's a
Yes.
very good point to take. Not many people think about these small details that also affect our design, on paper and translating it to the side, which is a very good
Yes.
point to be taken home. And
Yeah.
moving forward, Monica, we cannot really talk about materials now that we spoke a lot about sustainability. And it's also a term that we loosely use these days because everybody says sustainability without even knowing the intention of what exactly sustainability is. So, what's your perspective on sustainability of glass as a building material when we talk about it?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to sustainability, there are like two different perspectives of it. One would be energy efficiency, where you can use low emission glass or performance glass. So these kind of glasses, they just allow the light to pass through it and it cuts off the heat. So that what happens is that creates a very comfortable indoor environment, which reduces the usage of HVAC or the air conditioning systems. So this way, the energy efficiency is achieved, minimizing the energy consumption. And also, there are other ways of doing it. Also, you can use a double glazed glass as well. That just cuts off the heat. It doesn't let a lot of heat enter the interiors. So, and also there are different types of coatings that you can use on top of glass as well. Few of which there are certain types of coating that can prevent dirt from sticking onto the glass. It has a coating that just doesn't let the dirt sit on it. So that way the maintenance is much easier, and it will stay cleaner for a much longer time, and you don't really have to use resources to clean the glass as well. And the same way you can use a coating that attracts water to wash away the dirt as well. So there are these kind of mechanisms that can be used to uh, to minimize the energy consumption for the maintenance of it. At the same time, you can also use a smart glass that can that can go transparent or opaque as you wish on spot. And the advantage that I have noticed with this is sometimes you can avoid the usage of curtains as well inside. You can
Correct.
keep the you know you can achieve that simple and clean look inside. At the same time, you can avoid the usage of fabric in the interiors. Even that way, it is very sustainable. And there is another way. The other perspective of looking at it is the material reuse. So as we all know, glass is 100% recyclable, and it also retains its properties after recycling. It doesn't lose any of its properties, and that enables us also in creative reuse of it in architecture and interiors. So architecturally, I have even we have proposed this in one of our upcoming projects as well. We've also tried to create walls using glass bricks, or you can use it in interiors, like you can use it in filler slabs as a filler material. You can use different shapes, colors. You can just play with it however you want based on your interiors. There's no you just don't have any sort of limitations when it comes to the aesthetical sustainability of it. You can always take I have seen accent walls that are made out of recycled glass bottles, and all of these glass pieces can be used in floorings. They can be casted along with floorings and, like I said, walls and ceilings
Right.
and whatnot. And I've also seen furniture made out of glass, that to recycled glass, and it can be used as decorative elements. It is very versatile. At the same time, it can be eco-friendly, and it definitely creates the visually stunning spaces. So
So, in which areas of your design applications do you absolutely prefer using glass? So, there's no negotiation here, glass over other materials. So, what's your specific qualities or benefits of glass that makes it a preferred choice in such situations or applications?
yeah, I think there are a lot of places where we prefer glass over any other material, like we have already discussed the partition walls. So we can also use curved glass where you can make it aesthetically more beautiful, not just functionality. So we can use it in a partition walls, and uh, sometimes even wardrobe shutters. We try to minimalize the use of ply so that it's more durable. That way we usually propose wardrobe shutters, as you know, we propose glass shutters for wardrobes, and especially for the sunroof skylights, it's definitely non-negotiable. We need glass. We have to use glass there at any cost. And um, uh, and even for privacy, you can also address issues like privacy here by using smart glasses, just opaque and transparent whenever you want. I think, yeah, you can't
Mhm.
have both. You can't achieve both privacy and that openness with any other material other than glass, right? So I think in these kind of areas, glass is definitely non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, also facades these days, like how we talk about light penetration, that is a
Yeah,
very key fact. Everybody wants that sunshine when they wake up. So,
yeah.
absolutely, that's another area I think we can use glass. And moving on, Akshay, so what are some energy efficient glass products that you find particularly valuable?
So yeah, so whenever I think about sustainable glass, the three things, the three factors which I'm always looking forward for. One, how do you do it visually? How do you do it with respect to sound? And also how do you do it with respect to heat? So the three glasses which I'm really interested about is one is the insulated glasses. So what happens is when you can cut down a lot of heat with the help of insulated glass, and also the low E glass which is available, where you can bring down the heat substantially really well, and it helps in reducing the consumption of air conditioning and electricity with the help of these glasses. And next coming is the how do I mention? It's called vacuum insulated glasses. Basically, what happens with these is sound. So, how much sound efficient? Even sound is considered as a lot of pollution in most of the spaces. So we try to vacuum insulated glass is also very interesting because it cuts down almost noise to zero, and this is also very useful glass. And the other one which is very interesting is a smart glass, where it's these electrochromatic and thermochromatic glasses, which are very interesting, where you can adjust the privacy levels, one thing, and the thermochromatic glass is the tint. So with respect to the glare outside, you can always adjust your how the tint is and how much light do you allow in, or how much visibility do you want. So these three things are very interesting from my perspective.
Absolutely. Very well said. And moving on, when we talk about sustainability, there are some rules and standards that we'd like to adhere to, and some garning organization or ratings that encourage designers and also the clients at large to make sure their buildings are thinking towards sustainability, acting towards sustainability, and are genuinely sustainable for most of the time. So talking about that, Monica, with green building certifications like IGBC and Griha gaining traction, people are knowing the importance of why their building needs to get that star rating and why it is important that we give back to our earth and environment that so much we take on regular basis. So how do you see glass aligning with these sustainable design goals and reaching, IGBC ratings or Griha? How do you see that happening?
Yeah, I think all of these green building codes, they usually emphasize on daylight optimization and thermal performance. And glass usually plays a huge role in achieving these metrics, especially IGBC and Griha. they encourage the use of high performance glazing to reduce artificial lighting dependency. So when we use any of the smart glasses for windows or anywhere else, so we tend to depend less on the artificial light or artificial ventilation, the HVAC systems, which leads to low energy consumption in the end, right? So that way you get to achieve like really good credits by using performance glass on the exteriors,
Right.
high or double glazed units. All of these significantly contribute to green credits by lowering the cooling loads. So that way, glass helps us in scoring good
Achieving. Yeah,
credits.
absolutely. And also moving on to the almost closing part of our interview round. So Akshay, recyclability and reusability are like the key concerns for materials as we want to really emphasize in this conversation. So how do you think the industry can push for better end of life strategies for materials we use in our designs? It can be any material.
Yes. So, whenever we are considering the material as a whole in any of the projects, these days, how do you recycle or how do you reuse the same material is becoming a very important part of the decision making in the project. So, the few things I feel that it can be interesting how things can be integrated with the material vendors. One thing is a take back program, or they have a process where they recycle the materials in their own ecosystem. So whenever we buy a material, once it ends their lifespan, or whenever you think we are going to demolish, there should be a point of contact where the recyclable, how do you recycle is very important. If not recycle, they should be also they should be educating us, like whenever we buy a material they should be educating us how do you reuse that material, that it can be used in multiple ways as once it's done. So whenever we are trying to remove a glass, there should be a point of contact where we understand how this material can be reused or recycled as a part of the company's portfolio. And the other thing which I think which is very interesting is, like these days, to get a low carbon footprint, it's also important for vendors to have more units where it's easily available locally than
Right.
transporting it from a very long distance. This plays a very key role in decision making, because sometimes that can be a factor where I would not bring that material to the project. And also, if it's not available locally, there'll be a lot of clients who are not interested to buy it. And also, it reduces the transportation, which is involving a lot of fuel and a lot of carbon footprint
Absolutely.
that's going into it. And how do you, and also how do you recycle these glasses is very interesting, is how these days a lot of modular systems that are coming in, where you don't use adhesives in any part of the project, where it can be easily removed and can be reused in a different orientation for mostly of your partitions. So whenever it's a commercial project, you use a lot of partition glasses, right? So instead of, if the room size is changing, there's always a modular system people are adapting, because instead of breaking down the entire space, you can just add modules to make it bigger or smaller. So this also is an innovative way to cut down the use of glass by being very modular. And also, how do you it's I think that's more or less about it. And also, how do you, the material, there should be something called transparency in how material can be recycled, because they
Absolutely.
generally just drop the waste in random places and it's just increasing in the landfill. So how, whenever we are recycling or whenever we are disposing the material, there should be minimum instructions of how it should be disposed, because it can be going into a wrong place and a wrong landfill, which is in fact affecting the environment again. So all these things should be well educated before purchasing the material. It's not only just the commercial point of view, and also I feel all the vendors should make their clients understand how do you install it and also how do you dispose it. I think this brings whole meaning to the material.
Absolutely. And also, I feel a lot of investment should happen in research and development about how the
Yes.
material itself is having the maximum potential to be a sustainable material, and unlike being like you rightly mentioned, ending up in the landfill or something. And this
Yes.
reminded me of one small example that another architect I was chatting with was mentioning to me that, at vendors level, we had some suggestions from you. At R&D, asset industry level, we have some suggestions coming up. And as designers level, she was telling about how they give sustainable souvenirs to their clients, meaning whatever left waste is left out in her site, she tries to make sure she makes a product out of it and gives
That's
them
really
clients saying this is what we saved on your name, and how people name the stars in the sky and say this is a gift for you. She kind of made sure, she pulled down all the different products. We use a lot of projects, products in the site. So
yes.
she's given a table or a coffee table or a small
Oh wow.
plate or a pot or anything that kind of did not go to the dump yard and stayed back on the site in the home. That's
That's
one good
really
thing we can,
yeah.
catch up maybe.
And that brings a lot of meaning to that.
Right, especially. So it's on their name, they saved a lot of waste. That's a
Yeah.
good way to think of. That's why we kind of gave it a name called Sustainable Souvenirs, because that's how we want to see the industry go forward as individuals.
Wow.
So moving on, Maunika, do you see smart glass and dynamic glazing becoming a mainstream solution in Indian architecture anytime soon? We know that a lot of people are using it in their projects, and it's been on the rise. But do you think this it's going to make sure it's a mandatory aspect of our Indian architecture?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely believe that smart glass has a tremendous potential in architecture and interiors. But I think the only thing that's stopping from it being used extensively is probably the cost barrier. But I think in future, with the increase in demand, it should become more economical, and I think making it more economical will lead to a much vast usage of this smart glass. And we've also seen this trend earlier with the smart artificial lighting as well, right? It was once a premium feature that was hardly seen in like one among 10 houses, but now it
Absolutely.
has become like a more standard element, and it has become so economical that anyone and everyone can afford and use it. So I think that way, if you come up with any innovative product that is really functional, and if you can educate everyone about the importance or the uses of it, I think it can definitely create a demand which leads in a much cost effective production value as well. And I think similar way, I've also noticed these artificial windows and skylights that are also booming right now, where you can just regulate the temperature, you can regulate the lighting according to the natural light outside. So I think if these can be if these can if these are all very expensive right now, but they're also being extensively used. I think if smart glass can achieve something similar naturally, I think without the need of any artificial solutions, it would be a game changer. And the potential for energy efficiency, comfort, and design flexibility, all of these things would make smart glass a very important element in building design, right? Also, even when it comes to corporate offices, where it also enhances the aesthetic appeal. At the same time, the functionality of the space is not being compromised. So just by adjusting the transparency and the, like we've already discussed, the needs for blinds is eliminated. It also creates a very sleek and modern look inside, and it just makes the task much easier for us. Like you don't you just you can just use one button to change the transparency of the glass instead of going and using the blinds, opening and closing it. So, and also even when it comes to hotels and healthcare units, you can also provide very comfortable indoor temperature, right? That way, it can improve the comfort levels of the occupants, and this can be very crucial, especially for hotel sector and hotels. So that way, you can also reduce the reliance of occupants on HVAC systems, and it creates a very pleasant environment inside. This way, the maintenance cost can be reduced, the user's comfort can be improved, and the energy efficiency also. So that way, I think there is a very good potential for smart
Potential.
glass in future.
Absolutely.
considering the cost barrier. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also feel talking about the cost, there's a lot of misconception in the industry's head and also clients' head that anything that's sustainable is expensive or anything that is, green is expensive because they don't see the long-term investment that they're making. Because you
Yeah,
use an
yeah,
object for a lesser amount of time and it wears off, and they're not understanding its recurring cost that keeps building up on the environment, on the energy efficiency, like you rightly mentioned, and also maintenance, and a lot that goes into happening. But this is the small nudge in the right direction that we as designers must do, that they need to compound that amount for 50 years of lifespan or even 100 years if you want a building to stand fit with minimal intervention or maintenance. That's something that we
yeah.
need to, educate them as well as what we think.
Yeah.
And
I think as architects, whenever we take up any project, I think this should be the first thing. We
yeah,
also try to educate them. We try to tell them why investing in good technology or good material,
products
sustainable
or
is
material, right?
important, because it's not just it's helping you later on for a much longer time, right? So that way, I
Absolutely.
think we can definitely increase the demand for it. Yeah.
Absolutely, very well said. And moving on to almost the last question, last but one, Akshay. So we've seen a lot of technology that comes into play beyond our understanding, like augmented reality, and we've seen interactive glass panels and photovoltaic glass, a lot of revolution that's happening with product and technology driven solutions. So how do you see technology integrating with glass in near future, like let's say 10 years down the lane or 20 years down the lane?
Yeah. See, the technology is being revolutionizing like really fast, and especially with glass, it's rapidly evolving like every day. Like you see a different type of glass every day, and there's something new coming in the market almost like within no time. There's a lot of change that's coming in glass, and also it's very exciting how it's been changing how you see spaces. So coming to augmented reality glass, it's very interesting. I've seen a space where the display, like it's a commercial office space where it actually displays the outside temperature and the inside temperature on top of the glass, and it also helps in telling how the weather conditions are going to be outside. Like if it's going to rain or if it's going to be very sunny outside, do you like really want to move out of the space, and how do you keep your indoor temperature or air quality, everything. So that's one thing. And also coming to commercial spaces, the nowadays people are going they're using augmented reality like really well for their branding outside the commercial spaces, and also every brand is being extensively using augmented reality to bring in so much of interest to their commercial elevations, where they do a lot of interactive things happening on the facade. And there's endless possibilities with augmented reality glasses. And also coming with interactive glass walls as well, like instead of having TV screens or projectors, now interactive glasses are becoming a major role in office spaces, where you have your videos displayed in conference rooms, and also coming to public spaces like in museums and also galleries, airports, everywhere people are using interactive glasses for wayfinding, and also to tell them where they are. Like it's been used for the better enhancement of the space. Like how do you the user comfort is improving with help of smart glasses. And also photovoltaic glass, the solar glasses which are coming up now. There's a lot of transparent full photovoltaic glass where the facades of the building are going to generate electricity in near future, and you can use that electricity for the buildings. And this
Absolutely.
application is being rapidly used in urban areas where you have like 50, 60 floors of glass being utilized. And that's very interesting things to do. And coming to smart glass with climate control. So, depending upon the temperature of the outside environment, the glass automatically adjusts the tint to maintain a certain temperature inside. So the technology has been improving so much just for the user comfort of the person who is staying inside the space. And how glass is being adapted technology is very interesting, and I find that this is going to be going really far now.
Absolutely. Talking about that, if I may add, it's also that this glass that's getting popular that I've been hearing from our industry is self-cleaning glass, right? Like
Yeah,
using
self.
the
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
nanotechnology
Yeah.
coatings, and
Yes.
that's
Yes.
something that I've never seen coming when I was a student in architecture. How can a glass clean itself? But that's
Yes.
something very
I think
interesting
it's
that's
been
happening
used
in
in
this.
most of the high-rise building these days where the maintenance
Right.
is very high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We cannot imagine a physical, guy hanging onto the 50th floor and cleaning your glass.
Yes.
That's a very not a good, a spot to put a human in. So that really comes into play. So the
Yes.
finding solutions in multitude levels, like even for the museums that are
Mm.
happening, you have a lot of augmented reality with respect to a glass that falls in front of you, where it takes you back to the history. So it's not one, it's multiple
Wonderful.
applications that keep happening every single day. And technology is taking many materials forward, if not glass also. There are other materials that are also, rapidly evolving to its best benefit. So
Yes.
let me ask you the last question as a takeaway, because most of our students are quite young and they might not be aware of certain terminologies, or let's nudge them in the right directions and give them three takeaways maybe. So for young architects and designers looking to use glass innovatively, what are the top three things they should keep in mind? I know we've brushed a lot, so this is going to be more like a summary point for them to take back home on, the glass, especially the top 3 points, what you both think.
Can I take it?
Yeah, sure, you can.
Yeah. So the main thing I would consider is knowing the E values of the glasses. Because how the space is going to react with glass, like from the outside temperature to inside temperature, one thing which is very important. The other thing is the thickness of the glass. So what thickness do you use for the space, like, and also what thickness is used for the certain height. So when you're not keeping the structural abilities of the glass in mind, it's very important to have the structural ability of the glass. So because there's structural elevations as well where the glass is structurally taking the load. So when you're using in certain spaces, the thickness of the glass with structural calculations is very important. And also the other thing which I would consider is mostly this. These two are the most important points.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
also, there's this thing called, solar heat gain coefficient that generally is playing a, key role in understanding the metrics of how glass performs, and the
Yes.
acoustic properties that go far away, like you rightly mentioned about
Yeah.
how lamination helps you grow for
Yes.
it.
Yes. Mm.
And the one thing that we would like to maybe give as a takeaway is glass is beyond the transparent material. Think beyond transparency is what maybe we can say. And like how
Yeah.
rightfully, Monica was talking about textures, coatings, and how you were mentioning recently about the technologies that integrate glass, and
Yeah.
also how closely you need to collaborate. Like as we know that collaboration is very important in our industry, and
Important.
how closely you can collaborate with the fabricators, use the trusted companies, work on the precision and details, and understand how the material can be used for its full benefit. So thank you
Yes.
so much, Akshay and Monica. With this interactive interview round comes to an end, and we're very curious to know what's next in store for you or what you've done as architects till now. So please take us through some of your projects, and also maybe let's talk about the unconventional and innovative uses of how glass was used in your past projects or present or your future designs. So Akshay, you can share your screen and feel free to present.
Yes. Give me a moment.
So I'll just quickly take you through the two of our recent projects that we have done. So first project is our own studio. So like I have said, our studio, our main design principle is we try to go. We usually have a very minimalistic approach towards our designs. We try to keep it very sober, and it's usually not very chaotic in any of our designs, and you can see all of that in our project as well. So this is, as new designers, for gaining the trust of clients, we had to show a project that we have already done, right? So we thought, why not just design our own studio first, and then this can be an example of what we're capable of. So if you see the studio, this is a very monochromatic approach that we have gone with. There are not too many colors. It's a single color, and we've tried using different types of textures. That's how we tried not to keep the interiors flat. So what you see is the reception area. uh, the first one, this is the reception and the waiting area that you can see. We've tried using different textures with brick fabrics, and we've also used lime plastering for the walls. So this usually regulates the temperature inside the building, right? So that's how we thought, and we've used a very continuous micro concrete flooring all throughout the studio. So we had existing tiles that were there. We didn't want to break it and then use a lot of energy on it. So we thought we can just do a simple layer of micro concreting on top of it without disturbing anything. It just saved a lot of time, and it looks much better, right? The aesthetics are also much pleasing right now. So can you go to the next slide? So these are few nooks and corners of the studio. Like you can see, we just have like two colors throughout the studio, beiges and blacks. We've used this cane lamp by Harshita Jamdani, and we were the first ones to get her, get any of her products in this city, Vijayawada. So basically, we're trying to uh, get that exposure to the city where the clients are not very much aware of all the materials or all the good crafts that are available all across India. So our vision is to bring a lot of them to this city and use in our projects as well. So here we have tried to use this. Uh, can you go to the previous slide? Yeah, this is another seating that we have in the studio. This is not like the main seating; it's just an alternate seating. We believe that we are in a creative field, right? Creative field, you just don't stick to a place and then you. It's not that's not how our work is. So we need to have a change of atmosphere, change of place. If you would like to sit anywhere comfortably, informally, you can still go sit there and work. That's how this is inspired by this Japanese chabutai seating. And the next slide. These are another, that's a powder bath that we have. So we want our employees also to have that calmness while working. That way they can be more creative with what they're doing, right? So this is the studio that we have. We have like very clean lines, simple geometry that we have used everywhere. And this is our another project that we have recently completed. We call it the Pebble Home. So this is another project where we've tried to bring a lot of artists all across from India. So the tables are from Rajasthan, the sofa is from another part of the city, the lamp is from Hyderabad. We've also tried, here we have this glass partition that has different beads. So basically, here we've used glass, a combination of glass and wood, where the light, you can see how well lit the space is on the other side also, because we didn't have any sort of natural ventilation on this side of this part of the house. But on the other side, we have dining. So this way, we have privacy for the living room. At the same time, we have this light coming in, which is making the space look very spacious. Also, the wall art that we have behind the sofa, that is also handcrafted by the same people who have done this terrazzo flooring. It is a customized piece that is from Goa. That we got that from Goa. Next. Yeah. Here we've used different patterns for the wall also. We've used a fluted terrazzo panel behind the hand wash area, and we've used checkered glass. If you can see, I don't know if you are able to see the detail of the glass. It is a checkered pattern that we have used. So here, this image is a complete combination of different textures, shapes, finishes. Yeah, and if you can see, we have this handcrafted on-site cast in situ terrazzo flooring, and we've tried being a little sustainable here. We usually have this add this brass inlays in for concrete, so just for the contraction and expansion of the material. So we've had few of the brass pieces left out. So what we did is we just cut them into few small pieces, and we just used as inlays for the small puja room that we had. And also we've created a small partition here. It is a very small puja space that we got, so we've used this. We didn't use the complete floor to ceiling doors. We've tried to create these small doors which allows a lot of light inside, and the small space will not look very cramped due to this. We also have this artwork created by Priyanka. She is from Bangalore. She's another artist who has done her first work in Vijayawada. So we this I think this wall is the center of attraction for this whole project. We've gone completely neutral with a completely neutral palette for the whole house, and this is the only pop of color that we have, and this is the first thing that you notice when you enter the house as well. So this pattern is pretty interesting. And this is a bedroom. We have this very subtle wallpaper, and this is another light uh, brand called LBH that they've. I think this is the first in Vijayawada for them too. And we've used cane and the texture paints as well. Yeah, this is another bedroom that we have. We've used this small concrete blocks as wall panelings. We usually try to minimalize the use of wall panelings everywhere as much as we can, so that the user comfort is not compromised. Maintenance has to be very easy, right? So which is why we've gone with very subtle paneling. Rest everything you can see clean walls, clean and clear walls as much as possible. This is another bedroom design. So, this is the kitchen and a small. So this is a home designed for two people, a couple. So we there is a small kitchen with a small island where they can just both of them can just cook and eat together. So this is how this kitchen is. And we there is one upcoming project that I'd like to show you. Yeah, next. So this is the Brio home. We actually for this project we had to come out of our comfort zone a little bit. Uh, it's usually basically we get the design intent from the client and we try to design it in their language in our style. So here this is the main entrance family living room. We have like a nice ceiling painting on the top. That is the color pop that we have here that matches the furniture also uh, here. Yeah. And this is the living room. Again, here we have this color pop by the same artist. We wanted to try it for the railing for the staircase here. Yeah. And this is a double height ceiling with yeah, and this is the first floor family living in another bedroom. This is where we have used glass blocks. We try to use glass in a different way. We try to use glass for the wall panelings and wall partitions here. Here, I we wanted a bit of privacy for the family living room from the staircase side. At the same time, we didn't want the light that is coming from the staircase to get blocked completely. So we've used these glass blocks. It's an interesting way of using, dividing these two spaces. And the same way here, we've used these plain glass bricks as wall paneling also. We've created a nice curve in the corner. Any shape is also flexible. We've got this flat paneling at the back and the curve and a curve on the sides. So yeah, this this is another bedroom that we have. Here we've used glass doors also as dividers for the walk-in wardrobe and the bedroom. This is another dressing area that we have done. So here we had this good color pop everywhere. And next. So this is a bathroom. It's a pretty big area for a toilet, and the ventilator was on the other side. So we added this nice fluted glass element in between the shower and the other side of it, so that as you can see, it is very well lit on both the sides. And we also have our partition for the shower area as well as good lighting on.
Yeah, Akshay, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, so I'd like to also mention how glass can be used aesthetically. Like we've already talked about many points. I would also mention few points where it can be add so much value aesthetically in your projects. So the first thing is glass blocks. Now the glass blocks is becoming an interesting materials how it can be used in an interior and also as well as an exterior material where it can be used as room dividers or anything. It can be used endlessly. It's up to the designer how innovative a person can get with these glass blocks. And it also is, you can see how it's being used as a part of an elevation. So this brings a lot of interesting character to the space. And another thing is how people are using glass extensively as a part of their furniture. So there's so many brands in India and abroad where people are using glass as furniture pieces. Here, if you see this, they've used different textures of glass and the color of glass as a part of a dining table. And also, you can see how ombre effect is being used in the part of the leg. So there's endless possibilities of how a glass can be used. If you see in the same glass, there are three, four different tins which are used and also bent. Whenever people think glass is a material, they think it's a very rigid material, but in fact, it's a most fluid material that a person can use. And also people used as a rigid material. If you see this furniture piece, it's also by a company called Glass Italia. So these guys make very interesting furniture with glass. And coming to, like I've mentioned, a glass is a very flexible material. People have been used curved glass extensively to bring in so much interesting character to the space. The people are not just fixing towards the right angles, but now people are going very organic with their spaces. So now glass has been helping them to use to frame their views well, and also to bring in a lot of character to the space. And another interesting way to use recycled glass is terrazzo. Now, we've been using terrazzo in a lot of our projects where people are recycling a broken glass piece or tinted glass pieces in part of the terrazzo where you can lay chips as per your design style, and also you can pick the color of the glass that you want that will match your interiors and then use it as a part of the flooring. It's going to be very personalized and it's going to be very interesting how a glass terrazzo is going to be used in the future. And people have been using it as a part of their as a wash basin, sinks, everything. So terrazzo is a very flexible material, and glass is adding so much value to it now. And another thing is glass is it's just not a flat glass. There's so many types of glass that people need to be aware of. There's so many textures that are coming these days. There's fluted, there's checkered, there's waved, there's beaten glass, and also another interesting way to use glass is to sandwich a material between two glass pieces. People have been sandwiching mesh. People are using fabrics, and also they're collaborating with designers with to sandwich glasses. Like they're going to design a fabric and that's being sandwiched between the glass to add value to the spaces. So how glass can be used aesthetically, there are endless possibilities. And I think how you're going to pick, what type of glass are you going to pick, and what's the aesthetical value that you want is up to you, and how you're going to use it in your projects. So there are endless possibilities with glass.
So with that, we come to the close of today's webinar, and a heartfelt thank you to you, Akshay and Monica, for sharing your invaluable insights on glass and taking us through some of your incredible projects. And it was truly fascinating to learn about the many possibilities, including how recycled glass can be beautifully integrated in terrazzo flooring and beyond. So we hope today's conversation had shed a light on the game-changing potential of glass in interior design and architecture industry. So on behalf of all of us at Class Academy and Ethos Empowers, a huge thank you to you both once again, and we deeply appreciate you for taking out your time to join us today. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Anvita. It's a pleasure to discuss all these things with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having us, Anvita.